Welcome back, folks. Hey, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my connection in my office. So you may have noticed that there's videos of me in different locations. So trying things out, but welcome, folks. So not in my usual setup. It's a little bit echoey in here. I'm not going to lie. So if you got an echo, there's reason for that. But nevertheless, want to check in with y'all today. It is Friday and it is a smoggy day here in Montreal. I guess the forest fires are moving west, or at least the wind is anyways. So a little bit rough on the lungs. Decided to work out inside today, but hope you guys are having a good time and not overly affected by forest fires out west. But I wanted to go over a few things today. The main topic today was to check in with the Gruntstyle Foundation and their campaign to stop overprescribing of veterans. So we're definitely going to get into that later. We're going to look at a few things that are going on in Hard to Kill land. Namely, I was at the Dallas Alexander concert. One of our guests and my brother from another mother is fighting today on the mats in his BJJ match. We've got a whole bunch of other things too. We got giveaways and we got a whole bunch of interesting stuff that you're probably going to want to listen into. So if you guys are liking the content and you guys want to stay tuned, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to drop a comment right away. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And let's get right into it. The first thing, all right, if you guys are unaware, I have a new book. It's called Harden the Fuck Up. And if you haven't seen it yet, I implore all of you, if you're in the Montreal, Ottawa area, to come on down on the 28th of June. I'll be having my official book launch on the 28th. So yeah, I get to have a big boy book launch in a big boy store at Indigo in Point Claire, which is right next to the Fairview Shopping Center. So if you guys are in the area, you guys can RSVP. So here's the site. I'll be putting this right now in the comments and then be posting it in the description once the stream is done. And you can definitely come on down. I'll be doing some readings from the book, some behind the scenes stuff, and I'll be there signing books. So if you want to get a signed copy, my goal is to have 15 books sold. I'm pretty sure I can get there. I want to have the house packed, and therefore I'll be able to sell the book on consignment, which will mean like it'll literally be an Indigo book, Indigo bookstores, and you can pick your copy up there. And typically, this is what I got from Indigo. They're like, yeah, typically we don't have books of your type in our stores, but since it's such an important topic and we don't have a lot of veterans that actually write books, we're going to put it in. I was like, thanks. I think your name is Louise. So Louise, thanks. Sorry if I bastardized your accent, but hey, that's just the way I made you up in my mind. So there we go. I'm going to be posting that. If you guys can click on the link there, should be good. Should be good. And if you're in the Montreal/Ottawa area, I'd love to see you. Shake some hands, get to know people face to face, and build a community. And this ties in very well to what we're talking about today with the Gruntstyle Foundation and their fight to stop overprescribing veterans. And that's exactly why I wrote the book. Get off the pills. Get outside, what I like to call SSRIs, which is Stakes, stakes, sunshine, rest, and what did I do for the I? I'll come up with it. Guys, maybe we could drop the I here. I had a great new acronym and I completely forgot it with the overwhelming stress of running the live. So there you go, folks. The book is here. This is the book on Amazon. So you can get yourself a audiobook as well. I read it. It's my first audiobook. If you like audiobooks as opposed to paperback, go get your audiobook or get the Kindle version. But I really like my audio version. I took a hell of a lot longer than expected. If you're ever going to do an audiobook, oh my God, is it stressful? And oh my God, is it way harder than I thought it was going to be? But definitely worth the effort. And if you want to get your copy of your audiobook, you can pick it up here on Amazon. The link is on like all of my socials. But if you head to Amazon, type in "Harden the Fuck Up," like you can see up here, you'll be able to find it. No problem. So if you guys have read the book, I'd love to hear your comments down below. And if you have read the book or if you've gotten your copy of the book, if you haven't left a comment yet and a rating, please do so. I've only got 21. I need more. I've got way more sales than 21. It was an Amazon bestseller for a little bit as well. So it was way more in 21, just that folks, it's hard to pull a rating and review out of folks. I actually want to bring up, I got 1 2-star review. I was like, what? 2-star review? What the hell's going on? I'm going to use it as a marketing pitch, I think. So lacking depth through though the book covers a lot of interesting topics. Thank you. It unfortunately doesn't go into enough detail in any one subject to be of any reasonable value. I know that's literally why I wrote the book. The point is to take action, and it's for veterans. I can pretty much guarantee that this wasn't bought and written by a veteran, the comment anyways. And it was somebody that speaks French, because I see client d'Amazon up there. So I think they missed the point. Like if you read the first part of the book, it's like, this is not to be a long drawn out academic explanation of why you need to get out and get sun on your face. It's why sun's important, a little bit of context, and then what you can do, action steps. It's literally built for veterans that have ADD and ADHD. So thank you, lacking depth, or client d'Amazon, for leaving this review. This is exactly what the book is intended to do. Short, sweet, to the point. And you can go find your chapter that's relevant to what you want to conquer, whether it's health, nutrition, fitness, and recovery. You go there, you find your chapter, and then you get after it. And it's got tons of links too. And if you go to my website, you have all the links there, and you have all the background, so you can go do like your own research and actually do the workouts that are there as well. And then the author invites you to spend significant amounts of money in order to get real value from his own program. I mean, the only one you can actually go and actually pay for right now is my Veterans Getting Fit AF community. And that's a monthly subscription. It's coaching. It's $125 a month. I think it's actually quite good value. I don't know what other program he's referring to or she's referring to, because I don't have any paid programs that you can actually just go find on the internet and pay for. We have to have a long, drawn out discussion to actually get to that point. So interesting how folks maybe don't read the whole book and then make a comment. But needless to say, I appreciate the comment. And you guys can drop another comment here and rating and bump up that 2-star and get rid of it by adding your expert review. Okay. So what else did I want to cover today? Well, I went to go see the Dallas Alexander concert, which was freaking awesome. I was going to show you on Instagram, but since I'm streaming on Instagram, I unfortunately cannot show you his stuff that I posted on Instagram. But that being said, man, it was freaking awesome. So I actually went with my daughter and a few buddies. Place was packed in Ottawa. In Dallas, that's the second time I go see him live. And man, does he put on a hell of a good show. They had some technical difficulties, but like any true like army operation, like adapt and overcome, figure it out, got it done, made it happen. And man, I don't know how this guy doesn't end up rocketing to the top of the charts. Seriously, he connects with everybody. His songs are damn good. It's not because he's a veteran. Like, yeah, you know, his stuff's good. His stuff's good. No, if I didn't know he was a veteran, I would still be listening to his stuff. That's how good he is. So it's going to be really cool to see how he progresses. And Dallas, man, thanks so much. And Jim Arms was the winner of the 2 tickets from watching our last video together. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out here on YouTube. It's the 2 episodes ago, where I chatted with Dallas about his health protocol and what he does to stay healthy and fit and rocking in his 40s. So Jim Arms, congratulations. He won 2 tickets to his concert in Waterloo. And folks, stay tuned. We're likely going to be doing more of this. Like, I know you can see Dallas's head here. Like, he's a real friend of the podcast. Yeah, hopefully we can do some more draws in the future, because if you haven't seen his show live, you're definitely going to want to. And he's doing a cross Canada tour. So definitely going to want to check him out. So next, let's check in with our boy, Jared Facchetti, brother from another mother. So who's this Jared guy I'm talking about? Well, Jared was on the show just recently. So the last episode that I just published, we met in Mexico on the Operation Flow State BJJ and plant medicine retreat. He's a Marine Corps veteran, and he's all around pretty chill dude. But he is one of the best when it comes to jiu-jitsu and the new and upcoming sport of combat jiu-jitsu. Combat jiu-jitsu is essentially jiu-jitsu, but you can slap the shit out of a guy. Open palm, just mauling people. So he's come up through the ranks. He was a high school wrestling champ, went to Wheaton College for wrestling. So his wrestling is top notch, and he's subsequently gotten into BJJ for years, and it was great to train with him, but even better to connect with him. So his fight is tonight. I believe is at 6 p.m. Let me just check here. I believe it's 6 p.m. Let's just get into the comments here. I believe it's 6 p.m. Eastern. Here we go. Adult League, 6 p.m. No, that's going to be actually, it's going to be later because it's on the West Coast. So it'll be 9 p.m. And you have to get a fight pass, obviously, to watch it live. The highlights will be on the Subversive, which I have here, YouTube page. But let's just check in with Jared and what he has to say about the fight coming up.
The inner voice is one of those things that I've learned. You have to quiet down your voice, all the chatter in your mind, so that you can kind of hear what it is that your intuition is kind of calling you forward to. And I think that serves really well in a fight, as you're trying to survive and win, San Diego was amazing. Going against somebody like Jesse Taylor, who's a legend, to get to test myself against someone like him was such an honor. Yeah, I stepped up and was ready for that. And I submitted him with a 5-finger death punch in about 2 minutes. And that really made for a pretty amazing night. I know Noah is he's seasoned, he's a brown belt, he's a serious competitor. Knowing all that, I feel like it's just a really good matchup for me, where he's going to show up ready to compete, and I think we have a lot of similarities, and I kind of feel like it's destined. The sparks are going to kind of fly on this one.
It's going to be a good fight.
It's no secret. I am mastering the wrestle jitsu game. It's just maul, brawl. Stay very constant pressure, always moving, working forward, kind of heavy hands. I can pull you down, put you in a state of kind of having to react.
That was his last match.
It gets harder, and you can just kind of keep that.
So JT Money,
up, and I never want to.
If you guys don't know who he is, he was quite popular in
have a lot of
UFC
that I can finish with.
And
you can expect that.
Yeah, he really, Jared really.
I get to pour it all out there
really
in a way that I haven't in training, but I
really
know
cool
that I've been reserving for that moment. It's like, this is the peak moment to express everything that I've been thinking about and imagining. I'm in there to squeeze this dude to death and just put a lot of pressure on him, and then if I put some hands on him, then it's gonna hurt. So
we're gonna squeeze the dude to death.
Purple belt out of Traverse City, Michigan, and I've got a match with Subversive this Friday on June 6th. You can buy your tickets at subversivebjj.com, and I'll see you there.
It's cool shit. So if you're down with the BJJ stuff, this whole new category of BJJ, which is combat jiu-jitsu, is looking really cool. And I think it's going to be something that, if you're into that scene, it's going to be something that's going to be up and coming. Kind of like we've noticed as well, like there's other fighting leagues that are coming out. The bare knuckle stuff is starting to get really popular as well. I've caught a few of those on YouTube. But this is pretty interesting. So it's not quite UFC, because obviously you can't kick, you can't punch, everything's open palm. So it opens things up to different practitioners, which is going to be really cool to see. So go support fellow veteran, Marine Corps veteran today. If you get a fight pass, you can watch it and then If not, watch it again on YouTube with the repeats. So we got some comments here before we dive into my latest episode. So Chris, thanks so much for commenting. Great work over there. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So if you're tuning into the show, want to know a little bit as to what's coming down the pipe, well, we've got a big episode coming up tomorrow. So a little teaser for you guys before we have the premiere tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm chatting with Dr. Peter McCullough. Now, Dr. Peter McCullough, if you're not tracking, was one of the original doctors that pushed back on the COVID mandates and the COVID hysteria, because he's a practicing doctor who saw that there was ways to treat people that didn't just require them to go home and wait till it was so bad they had to go to the hospital. He never denied that COVID was a serious illness, but what he did was treat people with different remedies that he knew would work. Now, he's also a researcher, one of the most prominent researchers in his field. So when his opinion came up, his opinion mattered and it had weight. So he got censored and, he got lambasted, and he ended up on Joe Rogan. And that's where I kind of found his work and realized, oh, okay, there's actually really intelligent people out there that are saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. We need to be doing X, Y, Z. But their voices were drowned out for the quote unquote experts that were towing the company line or the government line. So I had the privilege of chatting with him the other week, and we had a explosive, when I say explosive, what we go over was, I wish I could have had 4 hours with him, but I had 1 hour. He's a busy man. But here's just a sneak peek of what to expect tomorrow when the episode drops. There is no bigger health crisis than the impact of censorship in COVID-19.
Our current FDA commissioner, Marty McAfee, said that. Said, that censorship was effectively killing people. Billions and billions of dollars. And they poured money into thousands of media stations to run pro-vaccine statements and interviews.
Knowing that men that are relatively young, I'm in my young 40s, were dropping heart attacks. Boom. Athletes. Boom. What's going on there? What does the mRNA vaccine do to young men that is causing individuals that seem to be healthy to just drop dead?
I mean, any illness that causes a 9% mortality in young people is frightening. It takes a lot to kill a young person.
No kidding. So the military was like my second father. So the institution I believed in deeply. I went to war. I fought for Canadian values. And then when they break the rules, when they act in ways that would make your stomach turn, when they would disrespect the service of a lot of us, if they hand out or stretch the olive branch and say, no, come on back, you're not going to go back. So if you guys want to tune in tomorrow, set your notifications up. If you go to my YouTube page here and go to the video that's at the top, it's the full video, which is here. So it's set up as a premiere. So if you hit the notification button, I've got it on obviously here, you'll get notified at 7 p.m. And the unique thing about a premiere is that when you tune in, I'll be in the chat chatting with you guys live. Okay, so it's kind of like a live chat. So kind of like what we're doing here. I just obviously am not on video. And we can discuss all the conspiracy theories and all the stuff that goes on live during the actual conversation there. So I'll be there at 7 chatting with y'all. If you guys want to come tune in, that would be great. Find out all the things that Dr. Peter McCullough was talking about on the episode. I think you're going to find out some stuff that you did not previously know before from one of the world's leading experts. So that brings us to our main point today, which is looking at what Gruntstyle is up to. Now, Gruntstyle is at the Capitol right now. So the U.S. Capitol, and they're advocating for all veterans to be deprescribed, to get them off the psychotropics, the SSRIs that are causing suicides. This is not an opinion based off of little research and it being just anecdotal. The research has been out for decades that SSRIs, and the reason why they have a black box warning is because it was known early on that they cause suicidal ideations. Now, with hundreds of billions of dollars spent in the United States alone on suicide prevention for veterans, and there being zero change over the last 20 years, we have to ask ourselves the question, what the hell is going on? Because it cannot just be a bug. It must be the feature. So the Gruntstyle Foundation here has had enough, and they started their campaign called A War Cry for Change. So we're going to watch the bulk of this video here together live. And this is Tim here at the steps of the Capitol with the Reverend Warriors and bringing all their advocacy tools to bear to chat with the politicians and to make sure that things actually start to change and start looking at healing modalities like the ones we talk about here, plant medicine, exercise, good nutrition, that can actually put an end to the suicide crisis. And the reason why I think this is so important for this channel is because we're Canadian. We don't have advocacy like they have in the United States. We don't have a Gruntstyle Foundation. We don't have anything. None of our veteran support organizations actually have the clout like they do here. But that can change. And that's what I hope to start initiating here, is the change needs to start from us. We cannot rely on politicians. We can't rely on business. We can't rely on really anything other than ourselves to make the change happen. And we can't be constantly tweeting and angry tweeting and just getting ourselves all riled up online. We have to physically make our presence known and put an end to this, because I know friends that have taken their lives. I'm sure you do as well. The troubling thing is we don't really know how many there are. The troubling thing is the government doesn't have actual numbers. They have estimates, which I don't know how they're able to make estimates without actual hard data, but we have about a 1.5 times greater chance of committing suicide, according to government numbers. Is that likely higher? I think so. But I just don't know. But needless to say, we need somebody and an organization going to bat. This is the start here in the United States. And if we can follow their lead, we're going to see changes here as well that they won't be able to ignore. So let's get right into it, Tim, here, and see what the Gruntstyle Foundation has to say. And please start, dropping comments, and as we kind of do a live viewing of what they're doing here. And this is yesterday, actually, just so this isn't actually live. So today they're still at the Capitol, and they're doing their thing, and they know how to do it right. If you want to get more information, definitely going to want to check out their Twitter feed here, or their X feed. Just go to Gruntstyle Foundation and see what they're up to. So here we go with Tim on the steps of the Capitol.
The conversation today about the war cry for change and the overprescribing of psychotropics into the veteran community. For the last 20 plus years, this has been troubling the veteran community and killing members, brothers, sisters, war fighters in mass amounts. Over 156,000 veterans in the 20 plus years of the global war on terrorism have taken their lives. We understand that 68% of veterans inside the Veteran Health Administration are currently being prescribed psychotropics. We understand that an additional 28% of veterans are being prescribed anti-psychotic medicines. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem. The problem lies in that we are overprescribing these individuals with these psychotropics, and the harm that is coming with them is not being communicated to these individuals. In the early 2000s, the VHA implemented an opioid policy inside the VHA and eliminated the problem of opioid addiction and overuse within the system. And it is very similar to the problem that we have today. This can change. We can change this now. The VHA can change this today. And not one more life needs to be sacrificed or lost. We've gathered our friends and families, those that have been harmed by this, and we're going to be having a summit today to talk about the real dangers that come with these medications prescribed into our community. And we're asking for a couple simple things. Informed signatory consent. We're asking for proper prescribing policies. And we're asking for some dignity. Dignity in our mental health, dignity in our ability to facilitate the needs to keep us straight and narrow and contributing to society and being the veterans and those community leaders that we know that we are. But because of these medications, we're being put into a corner, we're being over-medicated, and we're killing ourselves. We should be ashamed. Ashamed. And today that changes. I want to introduce you to Brian and Kim Brumfeld. Their son, Connor.
So just a comment there on what Tim just had to say. So Tim is the CEO of Gruntstyle, the big American apparel company, but he's also the head of the Gruntstyle Foundation as well. And so they do their advocacy work as a way to ensure that veterans get healthier and have a voice, right? So their model is really interesting because they have a very successful corporation that helps build that foundation, that Gruntstyle Foundation. And what he just brought up there, 68% are on psychotropic medication, 28% are on antipsychotic. That's absurd. That's an absurd amount of people on these medications, knowing full well that these medications can cause a serious amount of harm. And his link to the opioid crisis, who's the first group that was experimented on with the opioid drugs? This is veterans. So veterans are used as a way to test and deploy large-scale drug development and large-scale drug operations to ensure that, okay, there's uptake in the community. Great. They get the VA in the States, especially because they have so many more veterans, to put it on the prescribed drug list and then off to the races. And at the end of the day, they don't care. They don't care if it causes a ton of harm because they know there's going to be more veterans that come in. If they kill them all, great. There's going to be more coming in because they got more wars to fight. There's always more wars to fight. So let's get rid of the chaff is basically how they see it. Oh, if veterans die, no big deal. We're still making our dollars, right? We're still looking at the bottom line of our companies. So all these companies that make these terrible drugs that at the end of the day, the SSRI and talk therapy treatment modality is only like 25% effective, which is barely better than placebo. That's unacceptable. That's really unacceptable. I mean, to not treat somebody is unacceptable, but at this point, I mean, thankfully, I didn't get treated. Thank God I fell through the cracks. I never went to any doctors. I just left the military and everybody forgot about me. I got out with a medical release and nothing happened because I was a reservist. Nobody knows shit in the reserves. But thankfully, that stopped me from going into a system that inevitably would have grabbed me and been like, oh, you got post-traumatic stress, dude. Oh, here you go, your SSRIs. Everybody I know that's been diagnosed goes on a SSRI or an antipsychotic. And if you look back at like Toby's episode that I did years ago, Toby Miller, he was on like 20 pills. When in reality, he had a really bad TBI from getting his ass blown up. Right? So, okay, what are we doing here? So this is the push. This is the push. And it's going to be interesting to see what Canada does in response. And I'm talking about the Veterans Affairs, because it's going to be very hard to deny any of the evidence that's coming out of the United States, right? We're the same people. We fought the same wars. We have the same drugs. So how are you still going to implement something that's causing irreparable harm in the community? So carrying on.
Was 22 years old, served in the United States Army, took his life because he went to the VHA and was prescribed Wellbutrin. A very similar circumstance happened to my dear friend, Corporal Paul Kludak. Went to the VA for smoking cessation, was provided Wellbutrin, and within 4 months he killed himself. It's unacceptable.
We actually chatted about that story on my show with Tim. So I did an episode last year with Tim, and I couldn't believe that one of his friends was doing well, had a family. He just wanted to quit smoking. And they gave him Wellbutrin to quit smoking. And inevitably, a few weeks later, he killed himself. That is so heartbreaking. So I can understand why you wouldn't want to touch in the States, the VA with a 10-foot pole, and even here in Canada, like what, if all you're going to do is prescribe me something that I think is actually going to do me good because I trust in the medical staff. I trust in the doctors here. I trust that system is built for me to actually get better. But in reality, it's causing irreparable harm and ultimately leading to veterans taking their own lives. That's a big toll. That is a big issue. So
I want you to hear their story. Brian, Kim.
My apologies. My name is Brian Brumfield. My wife and I are here from Marysville, Ohio. And I'm here to talk about my son. My son, Connor Brumfield. This is a photo he took of himself. It was a self-portrait he took shortly after Christmas of 2022. This is about the last time we saw Connor alive. He was our second son of 4 children. He achieved many things in his 22 years. At 16, he was a licensed radio operator. He became an Eagle Scout before his 18th birthday. During that same time frame, he was studying welding and achieved certifications and became a professional welder before he joined the Army in 2019. Connor was 22 years old when he discharged from the Army honorably in January of 2023. He was a student veteran. He was attending University of Montana Technological Institute in Butte. We last saw our son in person December 31st, 2022, as he drove his Toyota Tacoma across the country to start his new life after the Army. He lived there with his best friend, his Army veteran buddy. They shared an apartment in downtown Butte, and he was having the time of his life. On March 30th, 2023, he visited the VA one time to establish care post-Army. He was administered the Pfizer-developed PHQ screening test. He scored a 17, and the attending nurse practitioner looked up the results in the GSM assessment guide and determined that he was suffering from depression. And she prescribed him the so-called antidepressant bupropion, also known as Wellbutrin. What we've come to learn is that action was negligent on many levels. Connor received a traumatic brain injury, a TBI, while he was serving in the Army. He suffered from many effects of that TBI, including headaches, lack of sleep, vision issues, memory acuity. He was miserable because of the side effects of the TBI, and the Army never helped him with his TBI. He was not depressed. He was miserable. The DoD and VA have a traumatic brain treatment guide that says to avoid bupropion if they have a traumatic brain injury. And yet the VA prescribed this drug to this young man. Apparently the VA nurse practitioner was unaware of their own guidelines to avoid that. Wellbutrin also has a number of manufacturing industry prescription guidelines and the FDA black box warning. Apparently the VA nurse practitioner did not know about these, such as don't prescribe them to individuals under 25 years old. My son was 22. Because of the increased risk of suicide that this drug has. If the VA had followed their own TBI treatment guideline, Connor would still be with us. If the VA had followed the black box warning or the industry prescription guidelines, Connor would still be with us. If the VA had followed their own treatment guidelines for starting a patient on a new psychoactive drug regimen, Connor would still be with us. If the VA nurse practitioner had addressed his need for monitoring after starting a new drug program, which they did not do. He never received a follow-up phone call. He never received any attention. He was left on his own. His family wasn't notified. His roommate wasn't notified. His behavioral changes went unnoticed and uncaught. And after 8 days of taking the medicine as prescribed, he took his own life. The VA failed to give him a lethal means assessment. He had 6 rifles in his apartment. If this isn't negligence, I don't know what it is. There was a complete failure to obtain Connor's signatory informed consent about the dangers of the drug. There was no effort to understand his military medical history that showed the effects of the TBI and how he started scoring on this PHQ test in a cyclic manner. It was not deep depression. It was not moderate depressive disorder. It was anxiety and misery from symptoms that were keeping him up at night and miserable during the day.
Yeah. Okay. So that TBI thing keeps on coming up. And based on what I've seen and what I've read, upwards of 30% of post-traumatic stress diagnoses are likely because of TBI. We suffer so much from TBI in the military. It's chronic. Having experienced, shock waves, blast waves, falls, and if you're jumping, these are all issues. These are all things that come up with the dangerous job that we do. It's not to say we got to stop doing it. It's that we have to initiate the right protocols during your service, which essentially requires rest and just awareness that your brain can only take so much abuse. You have to let it rest and recover. It's one thing. But then on the back end, you have to recognize that if you're grumpy, you're miserable, you're vision, that may sound like post-traumatic stress, and you may automatically be deemed to be, post-traumatic stress approved. But in reality, it's much harder to diagnose the TBI. So therefore, for the attending physician, it's much easier for them to just prescribe you a freaking SSRI or an antidepressant and get the hell out of my office and get the next one in. And it's just a lack of care. It's really just a lack of care. And the only way to beat that is to be aware yourself, to actually understand, hey man, like I spent how many years in the Army? Bang. Okay. And if you have a diagnosed TBI, it's like, maybe this isn't healed yet. And that's why I chat with folks like Trevor Miller, who was just on the show, very recent episode. If you haven't checked it out, we chatted about Ambio Life Sciences that literally takes guys that were in the special forces, brings them into like one of their treatment lodges. They bring them to Mexico. They try this medication, this plant medicine called Ibogaine. And they did a Harvard study on them, scan their brains before, scan their brains after. Before they were treated with Ibogaine, these were all guys with mild traumatic brain injuries. They had these little dead spots in the brain that they could see on the MRI. And then after they came back from their Ibogaine treatment, those dead spots were gone. So effectively, you are cured of the TBI. Mild traumatic brain injury is curable, but if left unchecked, it will lead to depressive symptoms, a whole cascade of hormonal problems, poor sleep, like you name it, which can be misdiagnosed as post-traumatic stress. Now, some guys might have both, but you need to get rid of that brain injury, which is a physical injury, before you can treat any kind of emotional one. And prescribing antidepressants like this is just negligent. We're not even doing anything close to what they're doing here in the United States. At least they have some sort of idea of mild traumatic brain injury. We're barely scratching the surface. VAC just released something, I think a month ago, policy-wise, related to mild traumatic brain injury as a recognizable injury. But we got a long ways to go. So that's why I think we need to be really cautious about these medications. I'm curious to know what you think. Like, are the majority of you guys probably dinged up? I mean, if you're in the infantry, if you deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan, IEDs already going off, even if you didn't deploy, but you, let's say, were, an RSO for a majority of your career, running ranges, Claymore ranges, grenade ranges, these count, C6 ranges. If you don't clear out the damages done by mild traumatic brain injury, Carl G ranges, if you accumulate it over and over and over again, you don't heal. And if you don't heal, you can't be better. So let's just get into some of the comments here. We got a few good ones. So who cares? Writes, I have a combat veteran medic buddy from TF 107 who's absolutely FUBAR on prescription meds. The system has him absolutely hooked on. It's caused by doctor malpractice. Yeah, I mean the issue, and this is something I've talked about before too. The doctors don't have any time. The system is failing because your doctor can't ask you enough questions, and your doctor needs to essentially be a pill pusher. I mean, big picture, I think GPs are going to be completely obsolete in the next few years, because anything that follows like a heuristic, like if then kind of flow chart, AI is going to take over. Like, why wouldn't ChatGPT even now be able to diagnose you and be like, oh, based off what you've told me, this is what you, because that's what the doctor does. Is there any different? Oh, it's just because it's a human being that doesn't really know you, that makes it okay. That's how I see things changing. And that's why I think you need to be an advocate for yourself way more than having the doctor tell you. You can push back and be like, no, doc, I'm not okay with that. But the only way you can do that is if you actually understand what you're talking about. So you have to actually understand, like, hey, I think I have a TBI. Can I go through this test? Can I get this MRI? Can I get this done? Not to mention here in Canada, we don't even have veteran affairs doctors, which makes it a million times harder, right? Because you're dealing with just the regular doctor that sees everybody. At least in the States, they have VA doctors. So great comment. But yeah, I hope your buddy can get some help. Tell him to listen to the episode I did with Toby Miller. Just type in Dave Morrow Hard to Kill podcast, Toby Miller. It's an audio podcast, so it's on Apple and Spotify. Just listen to his story. You know, me and Toby are in a microdosing program right now, and he's just a great resource. So go listen to the episode, see if you and your buddy like have some similarities there with Toby, and then you know, start taking action, start listening to the show a bit more, follow the links that we've put in, and then just start going bit by bit. For me, the best thing has been psilocybin microdosing. I feel different, like for the better too, and you know, taking care of myself, eating well, all that stuff too. So I hope your buddy gets better. Our government and big business. This is from Live Independent, Live Free. Our government and big business in the United States is as evil as it gets. Yeah, I think evil is just indifference, right? I don't. So is that evil? It's not good. I'm wary about calling things evil or righteous, but it's not good. It's not good. And then back to Live Independent, Live Free. Texas is trying to ban both THC, which helps many people. Yep. The only thing that's worked without harsh side effects, many are vets. And the government is trying to prevent. Yeah, and Gruntstyle was involved in that as well. They were literally at the Texas legislature as well. Tim was there, and I'm pretty sure they pushed it back. And because they understand when things need to stop politically, they get into the letter writing campaigns. They start writing like shit tons of letters. They call, they email, they physically show up with their medals on. They're like, hey, we need this. This is helpful. This prevents us from having to take opioids that don't work. Case in point, like I did it, right? I was, you know, I Percocets, like I had like stacks of them. I hated them. I was like, man, what's this going to do long term? Thankfully, I had a degree in chemistry, and I really understood like this is like devastating to the human body taken long term. So why would I take this if there's no long term plan? Like, what's the plan, doc? And the army was just like, just take them. It's for the pain. I'm like, I understand that. But what's my long-term solution? They're like, nah, well, suffer and take these. No, not acceptable. So once I was able to get cannabis as a prescribed medication, I mean, I don't use it nearly as much as I used to because everything goes in cycles. Because I was able to use cannabis, it allowed me to just feel better and not be in so much pain and not have to worry about getting addicted to opioids. I'm not addicted to cannabis. So that's a real big benefit. So yeah, great point. But Gruntstyle and Tim, they push back hard. They're in Texas, right? They're in San Antonio. So they push hard to make sure that legislation did get passed. So they amended the bill, as from what I can understand, and you can still get your THC in Texas. Who dares? 100% on my permanent disability from TBI is approved, along with Quinism. Okay, not approved. Yeah, man, that whole thing with mefloquine. It's like that albatross that hangs. Like if I get voted in and made Veterans Affairs Minister, I can tell you one of the first things we do is we settle the lawsuits for the mefloquine stuff and just say, look, we fucked them up. Everybody that took it, we fucked them up. That's on us. Close it, pay them out, done. Same with the COVID mandates. Everybody gets paid out. Anybody wants to come back, CAF, make that happen. That's it. Shut her down. Like, that's it. Because the longer it drags on, they're just trying to kill you. Right? They're just trying to kill you. It's a disgrace. And again, we don't have anybody that has enough weight in terms of organizational power to literally show up and be like, hey, assholes, we need this fixed now. It's, one off, here, there. We're not organized well enough. We've never been organized well enough. We don't have the critical mass. We need to start putting that together. So yeah, at least you got your TBI covered, which is good. And who dares good looking out? Will do. Thank you. Okay, cool. Yeah. So hopefully this is helpful, guys. We still got a while to go. I got about 15, 20 minutes before I need to pop smoke, but let's listen to some more here.
And he was never treated for those. The VA used the results of this screening to prescribe the wrong drug based on a test result where he scored lower than he did when he was in the Army. The Army gave him face-to-face counseling and noted that it was beneficial for him. They never medicated him. Why did the VA medicate him on his first visit? They didn't follow the HIPAA provision that allows for healthcare providers to notify loved ones if there's an imminent danger of death or danger. So the closest people to him had no idea what he was going through. Connor received the medication on April 5th, 2023. He took 8 pills and he died on the 8th day. April 13th was the worst day of my life. We're asking for Secretary Doug Collins to step up to this. This is a solvable problem and it's right in front of our face, and they're not changing their policies. I would like Donald Trump to get involved, much like he did with Secretary Pam Bondi, and charge a task force with reviewing this issue and solving it. We believe the suicide rate would drop dramatically if they would pull back on this overprescription policy and actually treat our veterans with the dignity and the health care that they need.
Okay.
You have to speak up.
Yeah, I don't know that I can. So I started out with a little poem. It kind of sucks because it's not one of those fun poems that rhymes and makes you smile. So grief is my constant companion. It sits on the edge of the bed, the first thing to greet me every morning. It's with me in the shower, so heavy that sometimes I crumble to the floor when crying. It walks with me through the house, down the stairs, to the kitchen sink where I stare out the window looking for cardinals. It's next to me while I cook. It stays close while I clean. It's with me when I mow. And it whispers so loudly that even active noise canceling can't keep it quiet. Its shadow is over every forgotten task, every tall weed in the garden, every overgrown flower bed, and the empty pad where the pool sat in that past life. It pulls up a chair when I sit to pay bills and balance accounts. It reads over my shoulder while I scroll through social media trying to ignore it. It's with me for every car trip, whether the tears are silently wiped away or come in great rivers. It sits next to me at church, sometimes sneaking into my heart during a worship song or a sermon. Sometimes it's just behind me while the family plays a game or I sing along at a concert. It's with me on every walk, hike, bike ride, or swim, every camping trip and every family vacation. It's with me for every peaceful sunset, every thunderstorm, every snowflake, every warm sunny day. It's there for graduations, for family photos, and it's waiting for the weddings and the babies. At the end of the day, it sits back down on the edge of the bed, waiting for a late light sleeplessness or the break of the day. I would like to run away from grief, but I'm smart enough to know it will follow me anywhere. I know there's no legal victory that will magically make it go away. I know there's no amount of money that can lose its grasp on me. In the end, that grief is all the love, hope, and dreams for a child taken too soon. A child taken by a huge, heartless medical organization and a medical provider more concerned with the appearance of remedy rather than tangible healing. An organization that is not held accountable for the damage, the death, and the destruction caused by not following their own protocols and policies. An organization that hides or manipulates data to obfuscate their obvious failure to prevent death by suicide. My son Connor, at only 22 years old, having completed his service, attending college for the career he wanted in a state and a region he couldn't wait to explore, while sharing an apartment with his Army buddy, took his life because a VA-prescribed antidepressant altered his brain, his thinking and made him believe it was all pointless, that the blessed and fortunate life he was living was actually dark and depressing, not worth continuing. My son, who never did anything by half, took one of his most prized rifles, a World War II M1 Garand, and ended his life. The VA nurse practitioner that saw my son once, just once, used a patient health questionnaire to determine his mental state and immediately write a prescription rather than let a mental health professional make that assessment. I believe with all my being that Connor would still be here were it not for that prescription antidepressant.
That's insane.
Connor was evaluated by a psychologist before his prescription arrived and was not considered a suicide risk. But 8 pills later, 8 short days, he was gone. I understand that long wait times are often a problem for VA mental health care, but this was not the case for Connor. His phone evaluation was 4 days after his initial appointment with the nurse practitioner, and a follow-up appointment was scheduled for 13 days after that to complete the functional assessment. The VA says that suicide prevention is their top priority, yet they are failing miserably and have been for years. The patient health questionnaire is a snapshot of someone's current mental state and can be influenced by myriad factors, making it unreliable as a diagnostic tool. Prescribing medication based on such unreliable data is ridiculous and, in my opinion, dangerous. It's long past time to make changes to the way the VA evaluates and cares for the mental health of veterans. Thank you.
That's something that would be really interesting to find out. So Ethos and Eris, we need some A-tips. How does Veterans Affairs, what's their flow chart for determining whether or not you go on a SSRI? Now, because that's typically when you're in, right? And so from what I understand, right, because I was never prescribed anything for, my post-traumatic stress. So how does that work? Like, because we're going to our own doctors, who's recommending the prescriptions? Like, how does that work? I'm kind of in the dark on that. If anybody here is listening, like can shed some light on that. What is our actual process? Are you just getting the meds before you leave? Or once you're out, you're getting prescribed and recommended you get prescribed? Or is it part of your recovery protocol? It's like, hey, in order to keep your VAC bucks coming in, you need to get this prescription. Just like I have to go to, my therapy appointments, just like I have to go to my chiro, just like I have to go just to show that, like, yeah, I'm taking part in this whole rehabilitation process. Are the prescriptions necessary to be part of the rehabilitation process and to actually get your VAC bucks? That's something I'm not sure, because I didn't go through it, how that works. So I'd love to hear what you guys know or have experienced, because that process, like, clearly they're following a very defined process here at the VA hospital. So it's a flow chart that clearly is deficient, because that individual should not have been prescribed an antidepressant, clearly, because they just didn't follow the rules. Now, I don't know if that nurse practitioner is being sued, but I can imagine likely it's the United States probably getting sued. Unfortunately, we don't quite have the same system here, and payouts for negligence here in our judicial system aren't nearly as big. So when we do go to court, sometimes it just bankrupts you, and even when you do win, it doesn't make up for the years of financial loss. So it makes taking people to court and holding them accountable a hard task, right? And we're seeing it right now with all the vaccine issues. So curious to know, guys, put that in the comments. What are we doing here with our prescriptions, and how do you get on them? How do you get off of them? And what's been your experience? So carry it on.
I'd like to introduce Shannon McDaniel, surviving mother of Hunter Whitley, Marine Corps veteran, died at the age of 23 due to these medications.
Hey, good morning. I'm Shannon McDaniel, and I'm the proud mother of Hunter Whitley, a United States Marine Corps veteran, a student, and a young man who brought light to the lives of everyone he met. Hunter fulfilled his lifelong dream of serving this country. His honorable service included the withdrawal in Afghanistan in 2021. He was strong, compassionate, and driven. and always the one to lift up those around him. After completing his service in 2022, Hunter came home to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he enrolled there at the university, determined to build a meaningful life. And like many veterans, he carried invisible wounds. He did everything that we ask of our veterans. He served his country with distinction, recognized when he needed help, and reached out to the system designed to support him. But what he received in return was not care, it was neglect. On November 13th of 2022, 104 days after seeking help from the Tuscaloosa VA Medical Center, Hunter died by suicide, and he had just turned 23 2.5 weeks prior. Shortly after Hunter died of suicide, I requested an investigation into the mental health care that he received from the Tuscaloosa VA Medical Center. The VA Office of Inspector General's report was finally published in September of 2024, and I felt like I lost Hunter all over again. It was just a series of failures in Hunter's care. A mental health nurse practitioner failed to inform Hunter about the increased risk of suicidal thoughts associated with the antidepressant mirtazapine and did not obtain informed consent. The required suicide risk assessments were not completed, and follow-up appointments were delayed by months. Despite Hunter's reports of severe depression and passive suicidal thoughts, a positive screening for TBI was not followed up with, and that was done immediately when he began getting care at the Tuscaloosa VA Medical Center. They never followed up, never did any evaluation. Instead, he was scheduled with this nurse practitioner for therapy and put on medication with a box warning for suicide for young adults. In this nurse practitioner's interview with OIG, she stated she didn't know to discuss the risk of the medication with him because he would receive a printed info from the pharmacy. Also, despite Hunter reporting access to firearms, no steps were taken to mitigate the risk, which is a standard component of suicide prevention protocols. And these failures are not isolated incidents. They reflect, a systemic breakdown in the care provided to our veterans. The OIG report makes recommendations, but without enforcement, the suggestions go off and, they just go, and the accountability remains elusive. We must demand comprehensive reform. We have to empower enforcement capabilities to ensure the recommendations lead to change, hold the VA leadership accountable for their failures and negligence, ensure timely and adequate mental health care for all veterans, and proper follow-up and risk assessment protocols. Retrain all VA prescribers and mental health clinicians on risk profiles and drugs with box warnings, signatory informed consent, reform VA deprescribing guidelines to be slower and safer tapers for those prescribed medications with dependency risks, and publicly release all VA data on veteran suicides and medications. My son's death was preventable, and his story should serve as a catalyst for change, not just a cautionary tale. We owe it to him and to Connor and to all of our veterans to build a system that truly supports those who have sacrificed so much for our country. Thank you.
Yeah, we 100% need the release of all that data. Like she just said, how many prescriptions are going out, how many are on, how many veterans are on prescribed medication for their mental health issues. We need to get to the bottom of this. And I think it's going to be, because we don't have a dedicated team at Veterans Affairs Canada, how are they going to, it's going to be a monumental effort. People have to start giving a shit. This is going to have ripple effects for the entire population too, right? We have a devastating crisis with Men's Mental Health Month, which is a joke, right? We all know it's a joke. What takes more precedence right now, right? It's Pride Month. But dudes off themselves, what is it, 2,000 a day worldwide? Like it's fucking bananas, man. This mental health month. Okay. All right. Yeah. What's being done? Oh, nothing. You're a guy. So shut up, suck it up. Right. But your awareness is the only thing that's going to change things. Nobody's going to come to save you. We need to get this these data sets though. How many are being prescribed these medications? What is the actual number of suicides here in Canada for the troops? And I've mentioned this before in the show. The research papers that have come up that have shown, oh, suicidality is not so bad in the Canadian Armed Forces. The data set is wrong. They've taken veterans from 1970 to mid 2000s. It's not enough. It's too much. We need to cut all those veterans that joined in the 70s. They got to be out of that data set. There's no war. All the guys that joined in the 80s, get them out. Do that as a separate set and then compare, contrast. Hey, from the group that joined in the 70s, 80s, and those that joined in the 90s, 2000s that actually fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, what's the comparable here? Because the GY veteran doesn't get any love here in Canada. We're a blip, right? We're not seen as war fighters. The VAC doesn't even deem us to have fought in a war because of the Veteran Wellbeing Act or charter, whatever you want to call it. So that would completely change the narrative, because to say it's 1.5 times higher for veterans is based off data with all those veterans from the 70s and 80s. No, get rid of those veterans. Put them in a different data set. Just look at GWAT. And I'm sure it's going to be higher. It's probably like 2.5. You know, likely every one of us, like I said earlier, knows somebody that's committed suicide that was in. Right, there's 3 guys on my tour that committed suicide, or 4. On one tour. Fuck, man, it's a heavy toll, and it's just nonstop. It's nonstop. So I agree. We need to get the numbers, but more importantly, we need to take action and not do it the Canadian way and be like, well, let's wait for the official royal report to drop so we can actually start taking action. We know that's not going to happen. So we need to do this on our own and then start building these data sets. The information's out there. We just need to compile it. So I believe the last conversation is going to be the most powerful. So let's just finish up with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Dr. Larry Miller, surviving father of Mark Miller, MA2, United States Navy.
So he's the father of the
thank you, Tim.
Of the guy who committed suicide outside of the VA.
Come today to
that kind of catalyzed all this.
This is my son, Mark Miller, Special Forces, a sniper in the Navy for 15 years. I'm Larry Miller. I'm an emergency physician. I've treated over 130,000 patients in my career. In 2007, after years of fighting in Iraq and some of the most horrible places in the world, my son became very depressed. He went to the military doctors for help. They gave him Prozac. This immediately gave him an unstoppable urge to commit suicide. And it's a miracle of God that we were able to save him. We got him off from the Prozac. We got him off all medications. And for the next 18 years, he lived a wonderful life. He was a very kind, wonderful man, never a word against anyone. He was loved by his family, loved by the food pantry where he worked, loved by his animals. And then early this year, his back pain from the war, for more injuries, became so bad he went to the VA to get help. They put him on opioids instead of dealing with his back pain. And he became hooked on these opioids.
Yep.
He became addicted to them. Yep. He was taking more and more. Then his mother died in March. He became very depressed on top of being addicted to opioids. And he decided on April 1st that he was going to go to the VA hospital and be admitted to the unit for detoxification and for his suicide. On April 1st, he went to the VA, and this is what he texted me. I'm going to read to you what he texted me. Papa, I just left my VA appointment at Audie Murphy. Look how nice they are. They prescribed me Seroquel. How nice. Did not even listen to my story. Just like a robot that hands out poison to every soldier. I should call KSAT News and tell them that they are murdering our heroic men and women. They did not even listen to anything I said. In 5 minutes, they just subscribed Seroquel. Unreal. It is a crime. 1 week later, April 7th, Mark sent me this note. Papa, I love you very much, and I always will. This was at 12:30. I immediately replied, son, I love you very much too. 5 minutes later, he went into the VA and shot himself to death. He shot himself as a protest for what the VA had done to him, not only to him, but what they had done to thousands and thousands of other veterans. Why would a psychiatrist give a veteran that's suicidal medications that are known to increase suicide by 300%? Why would they do that? I'll tell you why. Psychiatrists have become nothing more than drug dealers.
Yep.
How do I know that? I used to be a drug dealer. When patients came to the emergency room depressed, I would give them the happy pill. I'd give them SSRIs. Why? Because I believed big pharma propaganda. I believed my specialty. I believed that the FDA would protect me against unsafe drugs. I thought I was doing good to my patients, and I was passing out SSRIs until I saw what happened to my son in 2007. At that point, I became very aware of how dangerous these drugs are. I'm asking you to join me to fight for our veterans that have given everything to give us our freedom. I'm asking you to join my son Mark in protest against the psychiatrists that are killing 22 patients per day. I'm asking President Trump and RFK Jr. to step in and do something to stop this travesty. This has got to stop. Thank you.
Yeah. If you want to get more context on the story as well, Tim did an episode with the doctor on the American Grit podcast. So, yeah, go check it out because, yeah, this got to stop. This got to stop. And, you know, these are our brothers to the South. We have these stories here too. I know we do. But we're not putting them out there. We're not talking about it. We're not on the steps of Parliament demanding that change happen. But that's going to change. That's going to change. It has to change. It has to change. So I think we're going to wrap up there, folks. So shout out BZ to the Gruntstyle Foundation. You guys are doing great work out there. And I wanted to make sure that you folks knew of the awesome work that they're doing. So go check them out on X, go follow them, and go check out their socials. I mean, they are covering amazing amounts of ground right now. And clearly they have the political game figured out. Okay. So a lot of lessons learned here, and they're definitely on board. Okay. They're definitely on board. Knowing Tim personally, they want to see all veterans get healthy. And whether you're Canadian, whether you're British, whether you're Australian, it doesn't matter. We all fought these same wars. We got to heal up, and we can't just be relegated to a life of pills and depression sitting in our basement. That ultimately leads to our demise. So before we wrap up here, folks, I always appreciate a like and a comment, right? Comments go a long way. And we've also got a new promo going on. So get your limited edition sticker. This is a collab between myself and Corporal for Life. Me and Nick hung out in Atlanta last year. It was a hoot. Nick's been Canada's patriotic apparel brand for years. And part of the proceeds goes to Warrior Adventures Canada, one of my favorite veteran organizations run by John Watson that takes veterans out on outdoors adventures, canoe, camping, etc., and helps heal the soul out in the woods. So big shout out to them as well. And folks, make sure to go, support your local veteran organizations, not just mine, but if you want to, I love it. But, go out there and make yourself heard, not just online, but actually out in the wild. Hopefully we're planning some event that may take place in August, more to follow on that. And we need to start making people more aware that we're not just going to fade into obsolescence and into the ether. We've got a lot to say. We fought Canada's wars. We died for Canada, and we're still dying for Canada. And that holds a lot of weight. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Really appreciate it. And if you guys want to come and get a signed book at my book launch, it's going to be on the 28th of June. If you guys have tuned in late, 28th of June here in the West Island of Montreal. So if you're in the area, therefore, like if you're in Ottawa, you can come on down. I'm going to be doing some readings and connecting with you folks and signing books. If you'd like to come down and support it, then I would love to see you. The link is going to be here in the description once the feed is closed down, and more to follow. So that's it for me, folks. Don't forget, train hard, fight easy. Thanks for tuning into the live stream. Peace.